You hold up the carved wooden mask. The vendor says 800,000 rupias. And because you already feel awkward, you offer 6. He sighs, looks hurt, agrees. You walk away, pleased. The mask was worth 80,000. You just paid almost 10 times the real price, and the guy at the next stall watched you do it. In Bali and Lombok tourist markets, the opening price is often 5 to 10 times fair value. The fix is 4 Bahasa phrases, 1 walkaway line, and 1 number to anchor your first offer. Get those right, and you stop being the day's easy sale. Most travelers think bargaining is a personality problem. They think they're bad at it because they're too polite, too soft, too conflict-averse. That isn't it. Bargaining in an Indonesian market is not a contest of nerve. It's a small, friendly script with known beats. The vendor knows the script. The locals around you know the script. You're the only one in the conversation who doesn't, which is why the opening price is aimed at the version of you who has never heard it. Learn the script, and the awkwardness goes away. So does the markup. Here's the part nobody tells you. The opening price in a tourist market is not a price. It's a question. The vendor is asking, how much do you know? If you accept it, the answer is nothing, and the rest of the transaction proceeds on that basis. If you counter low and smile, the answer is enough, and a different conversation begins, one where the real price lives. The 5 to 10 times markup in Bali, the 2 to 3 times in Lombok, those aren't insults. They're the opening move in a game the vendor plays 40 times a day. The guilt trip lines, the hurt sigh, the "you are rich, I am poor," those are also moves. Not personal, not cruel, just the script. Once you see it as a script, you stop feeling like you're being mean by negotiating. You're being normal. The vendor across the table is relieved, not offended. 6 moves. In order. Step 1. Before you even point at anything, walk the market for 10 minutes and look at the same item at 3 different stalls. Carved masks, sarongs, silver rings, whatever you came for. Don't ask the price yet, just look. You're calibrating your eye. By the 3rd stall, you'll start to see which pieces are handmade and which are mass-produced versions of the same thing in 8 booths in a row. That 10-minute walk is the single highest paid 10 minutes of your day. Step 2. Pick the stall, pick the item, and ask the price in Bahasa. Berapa harganya? How much is this? Asking in Indonesian instead of English changes the opening number. Not always by a lot, sometimes by half. The vendor recalibrates who you are in the first 3 seconds and the script shifts. Step 3. Whatever number you hear, your first counter is 30% of it. Not 20, not 50. 30. Say it with a smile and the phrase, "Boleh kurang?" Can it be less? Followed by your number. If the opening was 800,000 rupias, you offer 240. The vendor will react. That reaction is part of the script. Don't flinch. Why 30%? In Bali tourist markets, the fair price usually lands somewhere between 20 and 70% of the opening. Starting at 30 gives you room to come up and still settle in the fair zone. Start at 60, like most tourists do, and you've already lost. You have nowhere to move except up. Step 4. When the vendor counters, and they will, often with a hurt look and a story, your tool is the phrase, "Mahal sekali." So expensive, said playfully, almost laughing. Not angry, not insulted, playful. This is the single most important tonal note in the whole exchange. You're saying, we both know that number is for someone else. Then offer a small increase. Maybe you go from 240 to 300. Step 5. If the vendor won't budge to a number you're happy with, use the walk-away line. "Ya, saya lihat-lihat dulu. I'll just look around for now." Say it warmly. Start to actually turn. 9 times out of 10, the real price arrives before you've taken 3 steps. If it doesn't, that's fine. You walk to the next stall, and now you know what this vendor's floor is. You bring that number to the next conversation. One warning on the walkaway. Only use it if you're genuinely willing to walk. And once you and the vendor agree on a number out loud, you have to buy. Walking away from an agreed price is the one thing that actually causes offense. Step 6. Pay in cash, in small bills. 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 rupiah notes. Handing over a 500,000 note for a 60,000 item kills your leverage and often kills the deal. The vendor doesn't have change, and suddenly you're buying something extra to make the math work. Small bills, exact-ish amounts, transaction done. Those are the 6. Walk the market, ask in Bahasa, counter at 30%. Push back playfully, walk away if needed. Pay in small cash, that's the whole thing. She's at Pasar Seni Sukawati. She wants a sarong. She's done the 10-minute walk and seen roughly the same sarong at 4 stalls. She picks the 5th stall. The woman behind the table looked up and smiled instead of pouncing. She points and says, "Berapa harganya?" 350,000 rupiahs. She knows from the walk that this sarong is probably worth around 80. She counters at 100. The vendor does the hurt look, the slow shake of the head, the hand on the chest. Our traveler laughs and says, "Mahal sekali." The vendor laughs too. The script is working. They go back and forth. The vendor lands on 200. Our traveler offers 120. The vendor says 180. Final price. Our traveler smiles, says, "Ya, saya lihat-lihat dulu," and starts to turn toward the aisle. She gets about 2 steps. Okay, 130. Done. She pays in 3 50,000 notes she pulled out of her pocket before the conversation started, because the big notes are zipped away somewhere else. She leaves with the sarong, the vendor still smiling, and the guy at the next stall who saw the whole thing now knows what number to start her at if she comes back tomorrow. One small thing worth knowing before the next section. There's a belief among Indonesian vendors called penglaris. The idea that the first sale of the day brings luck for the rest of it. If you're the first customer at a stall in the morning, mention it. A small nod toward "first customer today," and many vendors will give you a noticeably better number. Because closing that first sale matters to them in a way it won't again all day. Show up early. Use it. 4 phrases. That's the whole kit. Berapa harganya means, how much is this? This is your opening line at every stall. Boleh kurang means, can it be less? You say this right before you name your 30% counter. Mahal sekali means so expensive, said playfully, never angrily. This is your tool for every round of pushback. Ya, saya lihat-lihat dulu means, I'll just look around for now. This is the walkaway line, and you only use it if you're actually ready to walk. 4 phrases. Memorize them in the taxi on the way to the market. That's all the Bahasa this whole conversation needs. Here's the version you screenshot. Walk the market for 10 minutes first. Ask the price in Bahasa, not English. Counter at 30% of the opening. Push back playfully, never angrily. Use the walkaway line if you mean it. Pay in small denomination cash. That's the whole video on one screen. You now know how to walk into Pasar Sukawati or Pasar Ubud or any tourist market in Indonesia and pay something close to what locals pay. In a conversation, both sides walk away from smiling. The mask doesn't cost 800,000, it costs 80. And you know how to get there without anyone losing face. Indonesian markets reward the traveler who shows up with a little bit of the language and a little bit of patience. They quietly overcharge everyone else. Speaking of the language, those 4 phrases today only work because Bahasa Indonesia is one of the friendliest languages in the world to pick up a little of. I put together a separate video on the best ways to learn some, including a lazy method most travelers have never heard of, that gets you further in a week than a year of good intentions. There's a card popping up on the right of the screen now. Tap that and it'll take you straight there.